My name is Tobias. I'm a video game designer. Work with a company called Studio Gigante, and we are creating a first-party title called Tao Feng, Fist of the Lotus for Microsoft. The concept behind Tao Feng sort of was born in our desire to create a fighting game, but to try to do something a little bit different with it. Maybe do some things that are expected in a fighting game. We want to have all the speed and fluidity and complexity in the combo system that the best fighting games have. So we want to retain those things, and yet we want to introduce some new elements without breaking the play mechanic of a fighting game that the players expect. Well, the story behind Tao Feng centers around two warring clans who existed hundreds of years ago in mainland China. One of the clans gets wiped out at the turn of the last century. The infant son of the leader survives, is rescued by a foot soldier who escapes with him to what we would consider America in our alternate universe. And the child grows up, becomes old, and factions of his enemy clan start to show up in modern day America, and he's forced to sort of reform his clan using younger warriors, untested warriors from America. Tao Feng features 12 playable characters, a boss. We're going to have the typical unlockable things. We have 12 backgrounds, and the game, in terms of its playability, centers around a combo system that involves sort of almost a rhythmic pacing to the button presses. Which is important for our game and is a little bit different than I think maybe what players are kind of used to. Certainly anybody familiar with fighting games can pick it up and do well, but learning sort of this rhythm to some of the combos can kind of help execute them a little bit more successfully. The interaction with the environment and the expansiveness of the environment and the player being aware of where he's at within the environment and what's around him plays a real strategic role in our game. Whereas I think fighters of the past exist sort of within a small box area or a round area where there really is no interaction with the environment or the surroundings. And that's, I think, a major difference between our product and what's out there. We have a few different differentiating features in the game. One is, again, the expansive environments and how you use those environments in the course of a fight. You can use them in a few different ways. One is through using the backgrounds to attack off of. So any perimeter wall, any large object, if you're backed into it, you can perform an attack off of it, like a backflip off the wall into a kick. Any vertical pull, you can grab and swing around and do an attack against your opponent. Having those attacks and having that ability forces the player to really be aware of where he's at in relationship to the objects positioned in the world and his opponent. Also, being able to knock your opponent into hazardous objects to cause additional damage plays a big part in our game. And also knocking your opponent into a background hazard will advance your opponent in what we call limb damage. And limb damage serves to again, allow another strategic element. For instance, if your opponent is really good at a particular kick combo, you know that if you can cause limb damage to his legs, you impede his ability to effectively use his kick attacks against you. So limb damage, again, plays a real strategic role in our game. And once an opponent is suffering from limb damage, you can heal your limb damage through the course of a fight by building up what we call your chi. And what we have is positioned under our health meter, what we call our chi meter. And through the course of a fight, as you land attacks, you build your chi. And when your chi meter is full, you can either use it to heal the effects of limb damage, or you can use it to perform a special move or a special attack. And all our special attacks are real flashy type of effects, sweeping fire attacks and things of that nature. So again, an element of strategy is building your chi and then saving it for or in anticipation of suffering limb damage. So the moment you suffer limb damage, you can heal yourself immediately, or you can save it to do a special attack. And Again, that's all. It's about the player being strategic, seeing how much health he has left towards the end of a fight and knowing whether it makes sense to heal himself if he's suffering limb damage or use the chi to perform a special attack. We think that there are a lot of great fighting games out there. I'm a huge fighting game fan, and I think that, if you look at fighting games have been around for a while, and especially a lot of the products out of Japan, I think they've almost perfected just sort of the character-to-character sort of close-quarter combat that's out there. It's, I think, as good as almost it's going to get. And I think being conscious of that, what we wanted to do with this game was try to introduce some elements that really haven't been exploited yet in the genre. And we felt that would be very important to create sort of a fresh perspective on the fighting game, and still make it feel like a fighting game. We don't want to break the feeling of a fighting game, but yet we want to introduce a bunch of new elements. And so we're sensitive to the expectations of fighting game players, but yet we're also sensitive to the fact that the genre has, even with the great games that are out there, become a little bit stagnant in terms of new features. And so that's where we thought that we can sort of exploit the genre.